Talking to the stars of today.
And the freshest talent of tomorrow.
Their story in their words.
This is the Learn, Develop, Live podcast.
In the spotlight.
Good morning! Welcome to the Learn, Develop, Live podcast with the latest episode of, drumroll please, In the Spotlight. Ooh. In this episode, I have an incredible entrepreneur who is slowly taking on the world. Honestly, it won't be long before she takes over. In the Spotlight this week, all the way from Japan, we have Natsune Oki, who is the host of LifeUp Education TV, managing director of Foreign Connect, and, wait for it, author of The Game of Self Domination. And it's the Game of Self Domination that we'll be talking about. Now, the interview was delayed with its release as it was originally meant to be released last month. There was some illness here and then the file was corrupted. Oh, just so much happening. It was like a movie scene. But we have made it. It's recorded, it's edited, it's mixed, and finally, it's released into the big wide world direct to your ears. So without any further delay, in the spotlight this week, here is the host of LifeUp Education TV and author of The Game of Self Domination, Natsune. Good morning or afternoon or Natsune. Out of interest, what time is it for you? Because we have a bit of time difference, I know.
Yes, it is 8 p.m. here
8 p.m.
Yes.
Wow.
What time is it there?
11 a.m.
Okay, so we're like literally the opposite.
Sorry for a late one.
Oh, so we're like on the opposite side.
We are, yeah. Sorry about dragging you out so late.
No worries. This is not even late for me.
Good stuff. So how are you today? How is lockdown treating you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for having me today. I was very excited to come on. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just glad we've finally got this arranged. I haven't been the best at arranging this one, but we're here, we're live, and we're recording. And this is literally all about you. So yeah, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
You are a very busy lady. And for anyone who's not seen your website, in a minute, they're going to find out why you're a busy lady. So when I did my research for the interview, there is a lot of stuff on your website. So let's do the rundown, shall we? You are the host of LifeUp Education TV, the managing director of a business-to-business global recruiting and international project management service, and now you are an author of a brand new book, The Game of Self Domination, which we'll get into shortly. And there are numerous experiences in both small and medium-sized tech startups. But can I ask you, when do you get some time for yourself?
Now, I don't necessarily need the time for myself. I mean, it's really it's one of the great thing about working for yourself is like you literally can decide when to take a break versus like when you don't want to take a break. And when you are the last person to blame, like, I don't know, like even if you can take a break, like you still prefer to work. I don't know if that makes sense for me. So right now, me taking a time doesn't exist, but I enjoy it, including that part of the entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah, I get what you mean. It's when you feel like you need a break, you might have like an hour or so, and then you kind of just want to get back.
Exactly. And it's like and then when those time comes, I don't have to feel bad about it because I'm just always working. And sometimes it's okay. Like I don't. So back to your question, I guess basically I don't have the set of a time that I usually rest. It's more like when I get tired, I rest a little bit and then I'm just going to get back in to working.
Do you sometimes feel, so I get this, if I put on the Xbox on a very rare occasion and I maybe play it for a little bit, and sometimes I feel a little bit guilty that maybe I could have put that time to something a little bit more worthwhile, like a podcast or just create some content. Do you get that sort of thing, or are you clear?
Right. And I think
Yeah.
this is something I had to learn also by on my own journey, is that I used to feel incredibly guilty also whenever I had to take a time off. But I also know that this is what I signed up for. Like, it's just like, because I have all these things that I had to worry about because I'm choosing the path that I'm choosing, like, it's my privilege, it's my luxury that I have. And I think because this is the luxury I have, in the sacrifice of, the other luxury that other people have, like, I should fully adore it and celebrate it and just use it. And then I shouldn't feel bad about using it,
Yeah, I may well try that myself, actually. It's a luxury. Enjoy the time.
Mm-hmm.
Don't feel guilty. There's no point of it. So many things going on with you right now. Could you give us a brief overview about how you got started on this journey of yours? You got LifeUp Education TV, podcasting, and obviously the book. Was there a chain of events, or did you just flow from one to the next?
Yeah, so LifeUp Education TV is really started from the idea that I wanted to have a media talking about what I'm passionate about. And one thing I could really see myself doing it for a very long time without questioning my cause, without questioning like my ambition and passion, was the topic of, mindset building. And also, I, with my background, I studied economics. And then while I was still studying, I actually had a chance to work with, some of the like really great tech entrepreneurs and investors in Seattle. And back then, I noticed that I wanted to make a contribution to the humanity in some way, in a way that I can make a contribution to. And I kept, I guess, coming back to that thesis of like, what does that mean? Like, what can I do? Right. And then I was stumbling up on that idea for a while. And then finally, recently, I kind of came to the realization that after so many things happen, after experiencing so many things, I kind of came to this another phase of my life where I kind of noticed there's no purpose in life. But by saying that, I don't mean there's no purpose in life, everything is bad, everything is sad, life is miserable. But actually, it's the opposite. Because there's no purpose in life, the only thing I can do is to live it totally. And for me, to live it totally means I want to make the ultimate encouragement for people to make ultimate progression in the humanity. And then I wanted to break it down what that means. And then LifeUp Education TV exactly talks about that from the perspective of art and science, because there's a difference. Art part is very subjective, and which is why there isn't necessarily a hard fact of what life should accomplish, even at each individual level. Like there isn't a purpose for it because it's subjective. Everybody can decide what it is. And science part is to talk about the processes of how one can reach their ambition of art. So we talk about utility tools to get to our ambition of art. I guess the long story short, I wanted to create a media that talks about how can we create the progress of humanity, and from the perspective of art, which lay down on mindset building and also creating the grit, right? Like ultimate willingness and one's inspiration. So I want to speak directly to that. And then science, in a sense that we also want to understand the practicality of how things work in relation to the art, in relation to our mindset building.
Okay, so, and I'm guessing podcasting was just kind of like a evolution of it
and
all.
then yes, so podcasting, well, I guess it's, so that's basically the message. And then here, once again, like I'm talking about the art right now, right? Like I'm talking about my inspiration, my message, something that I want to push, something that I want to communicate with people. This is what I mean by saying art, exactly. And when I think about, all this other medium, podcasting, blogging, video recording, whatever it is, they are science, because these are the tools that I'm spreading this ultimate message that I want to spread with my life, right? So for the podcasting, I really just do it because it's a tool to get to people. And one of the interesting thing about me is that even though my life vision in a macro picture is laid on very like a big picture and comes from very like creative place and very philosophical place, but I also have the eye of a business person. So I understand the practicality. Like I understand the logical thinking of how things work from the business framework. So, you know, when I think about promotion, like people consume media or people consume content in a different form. Some people like to read, some people like to listen, some people like to watch. Like everybody learn from different forms. And in this case, I need to follow that because I'm less important than the market. Like the market is there with their demand and I need to be adaptable to their demand. So even if I'm not good at, you know, speaking, even if I'm not good at video recording, whatever, I need to adapt to their need. So basically coming back to your point, like it's just, it comes from my ability to understand the media in a business framework. And then I decided that I should have, in order for me to push this message, which is ultimately the ambition of art that I talked about earlier, I need to be everywhere to push it practically. And that's why I started the podcasting, books, like everything like that.
Is there a platform you prefer or not really?
Oh, recently I like TikTok a lot. For one, it's super new. Like there's a lot of people's attention there. For two, it's just fun to make. It's shorter. It's easier. Is that what you mean by platform?
Yeah, just platform. Do you prefer the video or do you prefer podcasting or?
Yeah, I think video is better actually. I like to see people's expression when I consume content. It speaks to me the most when I watch video. Maybe that's why, like as a consumer, I have a preference toward video. Maybe that's why I like video the most too, as a producer.
Having a look at the actual reaction and seeing like the first hand, oh, that's how they reacted to it. They liked it, or it shocked them, or you grabbed their attention. So moving on to your book, The Game of Self Domination.
Yes.
Your book, as it says on your website, has already featured on Fox News, Ask, Market Watch, The Daily Herald, and Comcast, just to name a few. From the description of the outline of the book, The Game of Self Domination is a profound and powerful guidebook about self-discovery and achieving lifelong success.
Yes.
The Game of Self Domination is drawing on a combination of brain science, psychology, economics, business, and leadership studies. This book will arm you with the tools you need to fully attain fulfillment and mental transformation for achieving long-term success in life, which a lot of you just said. So your philosophy on how this all gets done, covered very well just in that description. How is the book going so far?
Oh, it's going good. I'm getting some feedback also on that. And there's one particular chapter many people seem to like, which is, I think it's chapter 4, but there's a chapter that I included like very practical, I guess, framework that people can use. It comes from 5 different business concepts combined together into one matrix. And then, so it's this tool, I called it LifeUp method, consists of 5 different concepts. One is from British economist. Another one, the second one is from the international consulting firm. The third one is from the manufacturing company in Japan, Toyota. And then the fourth one comes from British economist. And then the fifth one comes from the US president, 34th US president. So each of these party had either concept or like a tactic that they were using that helped them to basically organize their tasks and then the communication method. And then I basically took all that 5 concepts and combine it into one framework that people can use. It's a scoring system that everybody can use in a everyday basis, and also in your dream framework to kind of like score your tasks, and then score your I would say tasks, to compare each tasks on the importance of the task, depending on the risk level, depending on the emotional risk level, depending on, like, different matrix you can use. And that is a chapter that a lot of people seem to like.
I like how you've covered it quite broadly with the amount of different examples and different people that you've got your examples from. A lot of different perspectives and experiences there. I guess there's some talking points then from your book then. How everything is your fault when you are the true owner of your life, and how that actually creates peace. Your mind is looking at your failure.
Blaming, right? Like people like to blame, but blaming doesn't make anyone stronger, because everybody face away from the cause of the problem. But in reality, like when you have the courage to say, like, whatever is happening to me, like, it's not life circumstances. So my thing is, like, you don't have to dwell on the truth. Like if you dwell on the truth, like, you can't produce anything. Sometimes things happen, and these things can be like absolutely true. Like something, I'm talking about something as like some adversity, brutal thing, unfair thing. Like even if you wish something did happen or didn't happen, I mean, life threw at you every kind of challenges, even regardless of if you want it or not, right? And when you are dwelling on how unfair something is, you just can't simply come to the state of production. You don't, like, you're too busy dwelling on what happened to you, which in your perception is absolutely true. And then you're just stuck there forever. But instead, like, if you can go as extreme as, oh shit, it's raining, it's my fault. Oh shit, like, this happened to me, so your friend betrayed you, it's my fault. Like, if you can bring your default into your fault, then, like, you have no reason, you have no excuse to not produce something about it. Like, basically my point is, like, it's not what happened, like, it's what you do about the situation. So life is not how you wish it is. Like, life is not how it should be. Life is just how it is. And for you to not dwell on how it should be, you need to always be ready to accept however it is, regardless of unfair something might look. You have to accept it. And from there, you're finally ready to create some sort of action from your end, right? And then I think a lot of people miss in this scenario is basically they keep dwelling on the unfairness. They keep romanticizing on how life should be, and then completely lose the accountability on whatever is happening to you. And then once again, unfair things happen in life. I'm not saying that something is completely your fault, but if you want to focus on productivity, regardless of how unfair something is, you have to be ready to take that, and you have to be willing to move past it. And life becomes so much easier ultimately when you have that courage to even accept the hardship and go through it and then grow from it. Because in a bigger picture, life becomes more beautiful that way, because you're willing to work for it, you know? So that's something I talk about. I think it comes down to changing the narration, because once again, like, what you wish is not going to happen. Like, you just have to accept how it is in life, and the real tests you if you can come back from it. So that's what I would usually say.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, life does throw a lot of things at people, some more than others, and some people just they go hide in the corner, or like you say, you kind of take it on, you learn from it. There's a reason. Most of the time, there's a reason why it happened, and you don't always know the reason straight away. But sometimes it comes out a little bit later. But no, you completely covered it. Life is what you make it, pretty much.
It's just because I only care about the production. I don't like to dwell. I don't want to dwell. And I train myself really hard not to dwell. Like whatever happens is already done. Like I can't change, right? Like you need to focus on what you can control. You can't dwell on things you can't control. Then what is gonna leave you? The only thing you can do from that situation is to find out what you can do from that situation, right? And it takes strength. If you're a weak person, you can't do that. If you're a weak person, you might even end up just dwelling on the unfairness and just end your life like that, right? But let's talk about happiness and productivity. Then you just can't dwell.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely better to look at the positives, which I try and promote myself. You know, just because something bad's happened, turn it around. Yes. Turn around. Rock bottom is your greatest platform for your comeback, as they say.
Exactly. I mean, there's only upside. Yep.
Yeah, there is literally just the upside. All right, so you talk a lot about how to own rejections and failure as well, which I think you kind of covered in the first part there.
Yeah. I think probably one of the biggest thing, though, I would still say about rejection is like people suffer when they are egoistic. Like when you notice that you don't mean anything, when you have the humility to understand that you don't mean anything to other people, you mean just as much value as you can create for the other people, given what they want. Like that's all about it. You are the reflection of what can you give to the other people, right? Like, I mean, from other people, you're not so important, you itself, but what can you do for me is important for them, right? So when you look at yourself like that, you understand that rejection is never about you. Rejection is the other people's demand. And then sometimes you can provide, sometimes you can't. And I think the biggest thing I can say about don't dwell on rejection is to realize by first letting people realize that you don't mean anything to other people. You're not that important. You need to stop being so entitled. Well, I'm talking about people. Sorry, I don't mean to say you only, but I'm talking about people in general. Like we need to realize that we're not so important. Like we don't mean anything to other people. But that means that if we can give to other people what they want, then rejection wouldn't necessarily happen. So I guess that's like a healthy way to look at rejection, because some people misunderstand what rejection means, where they think they are not worthy of whatever they're demanding, right? Because they're rejected. But in reality, yeah, I mean, you're not worthy of anything because you don't mean anything. But in the flip side of it is like if you can provide for others, like that's all that matters. Nothing is personal. Like it's just you're not meeting their demand, and that's it. Like, but flip side of it is good news. You can still pivot and then actually become solution of other people, and the rejection will disappear. They want you all of a sudden if you change the form of what you are right now, like offering or asking whatever it is. So yeah, that's what I talk about in rejections.
There's a quote, 80% of the people don't care you have the problem, and 20% of people are happy you got the problem. So own rejection and own the failure. Okay. Yeah. So another interesting talking point, just from reading it, would have been how to create mental transformation in 3 phases. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I talk about this in my book. So the first phase, I describe how one can create commitment in life. And by commitment, I mean inspiration, like something that they can commit their life to. And in this phase, I noticed that it's all about emotional building. So here, you don't have to have a space for logical thinking. Like it has to be something very natural, authentic, very emotional decision that you can commit. And the second phase, now I start talking about perseverance, which is a phase that's harder than the first phase because it's more than commitment. So it's the the game, the actual playing the game, and it's a long-term game. And because it's a long term, I start talking about the importance of self-awareness, the importance of logical thinking, also how to overcome rejections and failures, also using the practical thinking, logical thinking, something we talked about a little bit. And also, this is the phase I included the LifeUp method that I described earlier. So yeah, the second phase basically covers how can you play the long game. And then finally, the third phase, I start talking about let's define the definition of happiness and success, because until now we've been redefining the definition of failures a lot, which is super important. But I think a lot of people miss that part. Like, what is happiness? What is success to you? And I think one of the big thing I want to talk about is, you shouldn't be in for your life journey for to get to somewhere. Like you should live the experience. And I talk about that using different method. I included actually 2-3 different poems and speeches from other leaders, which hopefully can speak like in a very deep place. But basically, to really summarize that, like what you live for is not to get to somewhere, but the beauty of life is everywhere, and you just have to have the eye to see it. So that's like the third phase to kind of summarize, the close up the entire book. So that's the 3 phases I talk about.
Good stuff. Okay. And one of the last 2 points, how to help find your own truth when people are against you. I like there's a lot of self-empowerment in this.
I mean, because I have like different versions of answers that I give away, but one thing that kind of speaks loud to me right now, right off my head right now, is to say like, what's your alternative, Like when all the people, literally everyone in this world is against you. Like, what's your alternative? Like, are you just going to give up on yourself and just join them? Like, what's your alternative? And for me, I think it's much more interesting journey if you score 100 when you have like room full of enemy. No one likes you, right? Like for me, I find excitement in that. I think it's a much more interesting story to draw. So that's kind of the narration I will draw for myself to keep persevere in that situation. But I think this topic has to do a lot with self-love. I think something that I deeply talk about often. And, self-love, basically, love should be unconditional. This is something I talk about a lot because, a lot of people, for example, tell you that, oh, you're beautiful, you're brilliant, you're smart, you're successful, whatever, right? Like people say that stuff. But when I'm told that from people, my answer to that is like, what if I'm not? And I feel like because people are telling people that, you're smart, you're beautiful, whatever, there's this narration that receivers can develop around that to say, well, wait a minute, if I'm not these things, I shouldn't love myself. Like if I'm not these things, I'm a failure. I'm not meeting the standard of what I should be. And I think this is very dangerous because when it comes to self-love, I believe that you shouldn't have any sort of condition. You should be always accepting toward who you are. You should be always willing to love, however the condition you are, because you're the only one person who can do that for yourself. There's no one else outside of the world who can do that for you, maybe except parents. But so basically, this is to say that how to find your own truth when everyone's against you. Like, I wanted to bring this out because it's kind of connected to this concept, where I want to say unconditional love is when you have the courage to love yourself, even if you're broken, even if you're not successful, even if you're not beautiful. Like, you need to be ready to love yourself. And that includes the condition that when no one likes you, you have to have that ultimate unconditional love for you. You need to be always by your side to say, look, even if no one likes me, I'm going to love myself. I'm going to love myself. And that's the ultimate, like, self-love. And yeah, that's how I usually encourage people.
Completely true. I'm a big believer in that you have to love yourself. And if you don't like yourself, then why is anyone else going to like you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
It always starts from inside. So yeah, unfortunately, there are a lot of people that they do feel that, you know, no one likes them, so why should they like themselves? Which is unfortunate. Yeah. But
I mean, it takes courage, you know. And I'm not saying that these people are evil. Like, I have empathy for that. Like, I feel sorry that they had to come to this place of, like, shit, like they must have been through so much if you come to that place, right? Like, I'm not demonizing it, but I'm saying that if you let it, it's under your control. And it takes courage to love yourself when you're broken. But it is possible. If you look around, there are people who've done that, even if they've been, like, extremely hurt. So yeah, that's my message there. Like, your alternative, like, there shouldn't be any alternative. You shouldn't join anyone else to hate yourself. You should always be by your side.
Yeah, always try and be the chairman of or chairperson of your own fan club. Start today, people. Start today. And kind of like the last point from the book is, what you are living for is not for money, which a lot of people don't understand still to this day.
Yeah, so I touched this a little bit slightly earlier in another question, but basically this is to say, like, in the end of the day, happiness is what matters. Like, in the end of the day, you're not trying to get to one destination, right? Like, you're not, the transformation it's not going from one place to another. But I think I like to explain it more like, it sounds kind of cliche, but like reaching greatness, you know? Like, it's a feeling that you can only explain when you experience it, I feel like. But, you know, I have things to cry on, right? Like, every day I have things to cry on. But I'm happy. And that is because I always take my happiness over cash. So even if I feel like something is not going in the right way, or something is not going in the way I wish, like, I still have the space to accept it as how they are, because I feel like, because I have the hardships, because I have the problems to solve, these things are enriching my life. And by going through it, like, I'm adoring my life even more, because my life is not easy. Like, I can't, this is the opportunity for me to even love even more my life. Like, without these hardships, I wouldn't grow. And without the growth, life is boring. And I probably wouldn't feel adorable of my life as much as I do by going through all this shit. So I think that's probably one of the like the close answer that came to my mind right now. But I have, like I said, I have like different versions of answers that I usually provide for these things. And I think the last question that you just gave me basically describes what I talk about the entire third phase of my life, which is probably like 2 to 4 chapters.
Yeah, and like I say, life is about the journey. It's about going through the experiences. And it's funny that where you say that money is not the most important thing, there are so many people. It's a huge thing that a lot of successful people that chase the money, they always regret, in their last dying days or their dying wishes, was they didn't spend their life doing other things, experiences. I mean, if you're in a hospital in your last dying days, who's going to come and see you? Your bank balance? Doesn't work that way. So completely agree.
For me, like the reason I named my book The Game of Self Domination, right? The game part of the naming is very interesting to me because I'm really in it for the happiness. I don't demonize anything. Like I have no interest in demonizing anything. And I think you being billionaire, millionaire is like amazing, wonderful thing. Like I think that's okay. But I think it's about adoring your life, like loving your life because it's your life. And that's important to me. Like it's not like you did it wrong, you did it right. Like I don't care about that. Like I think it's about adoring your life. Whatever you have is what you have. So my thing is like you need to have the narration that works for you. It doesn't have to be the truth for other people. It doesn't have to be the narration that works for other people. And then when you think about it like that, it's same thing with self-love. It's same thing with everything else that I talk about, that I've been talking about so far. I think when you switch that narration from like being correct or being right to like, let's find a narration that works for me, not no one else, but for me, then I think the conversation can change to another interesting direction, because whatever you have is what you have. Whatever you don't have is what you don't have. So what can you do from that for you to be happy? What kind of story can you draw from what you have? And then sometimes what you already have, right? Even. And then what you missed out on. Like what story, like stop dwelling on what you don't have right now. Let's focus on how can you make a story still in your head that makes you happy, even if you know that maybe you missed something. Maybe you wish that some things were different from now, but at the end of the day, really, like your mind, your happiness is all you got. And I think everybody can acquire that regardless of wherever they are.
I love that. Chase the happiness. Yeah. I really like that. And yeah, it's about the journey. It's about using what you have, but then looking at what you can gain. And I think when you look back in a few years, just looking at what you've done already, it's something that you should definitely be proud of. And I think you are, just by listening to how you say. And I think anyone that kind of looks upon, because even when I looked at your website, I was like, wow, she's done this, and this, and this, and it doesn't look like it's slowing down anytime soon. So you kind of like you are your own example of your book.
Oh,
great.
Thank you.
Great. You're a perfect example. Okay. So going back to the beginning of when you put the whole book together.
Sorry.
And I guess from your answer earlier, was becoming an author something you'd always thought about doing? As you said, you want to try and hit every kind of media. Mm-hmm. So go into a little bit about your approach with kind of like how you put a book together. So much information. Is there like a sifting process? Do you have this, and this? And you think, well, I won't use that now, but I could use it in a later book, or I have to try and cram as much stuff as I can in one book?
For now, I just threw everything I know right now, because I wrote it from my experience. Like definitely the outline comes from my experience, because I literally experienced how everything happened with me, my own experience. So in terms of process, it wasn't very difficult because I just needed to describe what happened to me. And I think in terms of revision, I think I'm going to revisit it to, yes, probably over years, the next, I don't know how many years, but I'm going to definitely keep improving the contents inside. So there's going to be like a version 2, version 3, version 4, because, you know, you change, your opinion change as you go through life. So there might be something that I already want to change from the inside of the book, you know? So I'm gonna change. I'm gonna keep changing it
and
or improving it. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I know that the new book is only recently released, but is there plans for the sequel or just kind of revisions on the current book?
I think for now I don't necessarily have anything planned. I don't have anything planned right now for as far as the book goes.
Well, if there's no one coming out, please let me know. We'll get you back on. Could you tell us what's the biggest thing you've learned about yourself since you started this media empire of yours?
The biggest thing I learned about myself? The biggest thing I learned about myself, I don't know. No one ever asked me that question. That's interesting.
Ooh, tough question today.
Yeah, that is a tough question.
Is there several things that maybe you've changed or you've learned about yourself? Not just like one main thing, but a couple of things maybe.
Did you say 7 things or some things?
Some things. If you've got 7 things, you crack on. But no, a couple of things to do.
Right. So some things that I don't know about, learning about myself, but I guess not about myself, but I guess something that I learned because I am doing what I'm doing is you just can't control how people look at you. You just can't control how people interpret you. I feel like the whole PR is predicated on that. The purpose of it is that, right? Like to try to control how people look at you. But in the end, like if you're in it for the long game, like you just expose who you are. You just can't fake it. And being rejected hurts. Like by you being who you are and people hating on it, like it hurts. But in reality, there's nothing you can do about it. And that's okay. Like their opinion doesn't matter. Like the same as like their compliments. Like their compliments don't matter because that's not truth for you. Their hating comments don't matter, don't mean anything because that's not truth neither for you. So something I learned definitely is like I try really hard not to get high on the compliments, nor I try not to get any low neither for the hating comments. So that's something I had to kind of learn. I'm still learning. I think especially compliment part is a little bit hard because, you feel good when people give you compliments. And also, hating part also like, but I think if you predicate your self-worth only on how much follower, how much even money, how much compliments you get, the affirmation you get from others, like you're going to be ultimately insecure. Like that always has to come from you. And those things are just indication of the context. Not even indication of how good you are, indication of the context. By context, I mean like, people, there are 7.5 billion people in this world. And all these people have different context of life, different, than yours. So some things you say might appear the same way you wish they appear to people, and some people don't see it that way, and it's just only logical if you think about that.
It's funny, like you say this, you can have a million good things said to you, but it just takes one bad comment and it kind of just destroys the whole thing. I like that. So keep yourself grounded. That's definitely a good piece of advice. And even now, like the stuff I've done myself, not quite to your levels yet, get there one day though. But you know, when I look back, it's all about a lot of people that they want to quit. They don't look at what they've achieved already. They look at, wow, I still got this to do and that to do. It's such a long journey, but keep yourself, stay grounded. I like that. Definitely stay grounded. Okay. If you can say, I know if it's not top secret, what is next for you and the brand?
What is next for me? I would say I'm in it for the long game. Like I'm in it for the long term for both LifeUp and my other venture, Foreign Connect. So I still have a lot to establish with both. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep working on both venues.
Good stuff. Yeah, definitely keep going because, like I said before, the stuff you have already is really, really good. And
thank you.
can see why people watch it, listen to it, and now read it. Okay.
Yeah.
So in general, what advice would you give to someone who would like to pursue, a movement similar to yours, or just start something up? Maybe not necessarily the same way the same stuff you've done yourself, but just wants to get started.
Wants to get started? I think the most important thing is self-love, because you have to get a lot of no's. You have to get a lot of rejections. People are not going to believe in you. Like, it's going to be hard. I mean, you can easily come into a situation where you're almost lose face because like you're working so hard 24/7 every day for a very long time. You don't see any results. I mean, these are really discouraging, but in the end of the day, like, you can't let that to be any sort of message. Like, you just need to recognize that that's just how it is, like as a context. Like, you gotta keep going in that, and without the self-love you can't, so I would say, self-love and the very clear vision, like how much you want something. And at the same time, like, by all means, everybody should try whatever they have in their mind. But some people do recognize that maybe their pressure, the stress is bigger than what they want. And they much rather actually going back to like 9 to 5 or whatever. And I think by all means, that's amazing too. Like, at least you learned something, and you shouldn't dwell or blame on your decision. Like, without that learning experience, you wouldn't even know. So by all means, people should try, but don't expect that you succeed. So for you to succeed, you have to have a really clear vision. You really want something. You gotta really want something. And you need to be willing to love yourself regardless of whatever happens. And those are very, I think, important thing that you should have.
Yeah, I think anyone that does try any sort of movement or they start something that goes into public eye, I think, like I said, it won't necessarily be an overnight success. And people that do give up, I think they could question, did you really want it that bad? But no, I think, even from what I've done, and why I say to people that I've coached afterwards is, if you start X, Y, and Z, you're going to find out how much of a commitment it is. This podcast itself is a massive commitment on time.
Right.
It's creating content, it's recording, it's mixing it down, it's uploading, show notes, everything like that. It all takes time, and it just becomes part of your week.
Yeah.
Have to have certain things done by a certain day. So all my podcasts have to be done, ideally, by Saturday at the very latest. Otherwise, I'm kind of running into Sunday, and the first one won't go out until Monday. But you don't really be playing chase up. So yes, all right, self-love. Definitely believe in yourself, and like I said, give it a go. You don't try, you don't know.
Yeah, and love for something. Like, if you you gotta love something if you want to do something, and like, by all means, that's okay. Like, if you finally realize that maybe you didn't love something enough, because you can't fake it. And that's okay. Like I said, like, I'm a big advocate of like, let's, fuck everything. Let's be happy. So for me, like, dwelling or blaming doesn't exist. I mean, life is just, life changes, you change, and that's life, and that's okay.
Okay. So I will have on the website, learndeveloplive.com, there will be a feature called the Wall of Quotes, which is going to run inside with the On the Spotlight interviews. If you had just one quote or a saying that would be your go-to piece of advice, what would it be? On the spot now.
You will die.
Good point. Yeah.
Would it be okay to say?
Well,
Should I come up with something else?
Well, it's up to you. What would be one quote? If someone said to you, I really need a piece of advice right now, what would be the first thing that comes to your head straight away, instantly? Is that,
well, I mean, everything is fixable.
Yeah.
So the implication, should I tell you the implication of that too?
Crack on.
So the implication of that is basically, it's another way to say you will die one day. But basically to say, do everything you need to do, fuck up everything if you need to fix everything, because fixing the wrong decisions that you made is much more important than making the right decision, because making the right decision doesn't necessarily exist, because you just don't know if you don't make a decision.
Yeah, if you don't make a mistake, you won't learn from that. So that's good. I like that.
I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. Even like without making a decision, you don't know what's going to happen because you're not even making the decision. Like, so basically my thing is like, just do everything, fuck up everything if you need to, and fix everything that you fuck up. Like, it's okay.
Love that. Okay. Where can the good people listen to this? Where can they find you out there in the big wide world?
Yes. So people can find me on LifeUp Education TV. I have a website under lifeupeducationtv.com. I'm also on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn.
You really are doing worldwide domination, aren't you? I like that. Okay. Last thing, is there anything else that you'd like to plug? Anything at all? Yes, or no? Completely up to you, really.
No, I think we covered pretty much everything. What would it be? What is your purpose?
Where's my purpose? Oh, put me on the spot now. Okay, my purpose. So I think overall, the whole coaching thing. So a little bit of background. The whole coaching thing came from when I worked in retail, and I was a bit more of a training manager, really. And I would do on-spot coaching with people on the shop floor, and I would do like knowledge coaching, just increase the person's confidence. And there was something really nice and something special about seeing someone go from A to B, more confidence, and most of the time not really even knowing they'd even done it themselves, because some people don't always look back on themselves. And I always said that if I get out of retail, which I did eventually, what's this, 4 years ago? Woo! 4 years ago. I said I would do something with the extra time, and instantly I had like 10 hours extra a week because I wasn't traveling to and from a big shopping centre. And I thought, well, let's set up Learn, Develop, Live, and toyed around with some names, see what's available on social media, what wasn't taken already. And I kind of grown it from there. And originally it was just quotes, and then it turned into features, and then kind of the podcast, like you said, the podcast is another media that a lot of people were kind of latching onto. And I know there's been there's like over 1 million podcasts now, or something like that number. But at the same time, I think it's 18% of those podcasts have had some sort of update in the last 6 months. So a lot of people start, then they just quit. So, but even that, there's still 180,000 or so podcasts that are still active. So yeah, I mean the podcast was like the next step, and then that kind of expanded with a motivational moment of a speaker, podcast interview, which I finally got you onto. That's kind of like, I think, the last part now. I kind of got everything covered podcast wise. I've got quotes, daily quotes. I've got like a main episode on a Monday. We've got the motivational moment on a Thursday. This will be going out eventually on a Friday. And there's also something for the weekend, which I need to do a bit more with, really. That was more to do with my daughter, although she's turned a little bit mic shy. But there you go. That's life. So the the idea of it will be just to motivate and inspire. And I coach people already, and I've seen people make big changes in their life. And again, a lot of people not really even knowing they've even been doing it. And just, again, seeing that person go from A to B is something really special and quite fulfilling. And it gives you quite a lot of job satisfaction, actually, to see that you've let someone grow. You've seen them grow. You've encouraged them to grow. And off they go into the world. So I think that's my purpose. That's
purpose. Amazing. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing me.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you for coming on. I'm really sorry it's taken so long for me to get this arranged and organized.
No, it was a lot of fun. Thank you very much for having me.
You are welcome back anytime. So if you need anything, you want to talk about anything, please let me know. We'll get you back on.
Thank you.
Depending on the editing, hopefully no one can hear the maintenance works outside, the banging. We've had a power cut as well. See if I can edit that out. See if anyone can spot where that got edited out. And I think that's pretty much it for us. So
sounds good.
Thank you again. Good luck with the book. Please let me know if you need to come back on, and I'll be more than happy to come back.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And that brings us to the end. It was a great interview with Natsune, and as I said, despite the workmen banging and drilling literally right outside the window of the one day I was recording this, as well as a power cut, because obviously that's going to happen when I need Zoom to speak to someone on the other side of the world. But we made it to the end. Now you can find Natsune across social media, and of course her book, The Game of Self Domination. That is out right this second, and you can track it down and have a good read on that one. That is all we have time for on this episode. For all the latest news in the LDL world, you can come over to learndeveloplive.com, and of course, you are always welcome to come and book your free 30-minute LDL power call over at ldlcall.com, and we can discuss whatever issue it is that you want to just whoop out your life. So for now, thank you for listening. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next one.
Thank you for listening to In the Spotlight. If you would like to share your inspiring story, please email chris@learndeveloplive.com. For more motivation and inspiration, you can visit learndeveloplive.com, and don't forget to book your free 30-minute LDL power call at ldlcall.com.